put more power in the centre and you know, sort of. But the second piece was they all had different ways of working. And the conversation I had with Mr. Majid was, you know, what is it that is special about what you've done, and how do you retain that, you know, after you go? I didn't say that, but, you know, that was always the undercurrent. And the idea was to create one set of common values and one leadership model and one way of working and then one customer experience. Mm-hmm. So it's like this, to create one way, which is Mr. Majid. It's like taking Mr. Majid, excellence, innovation, you know, all those things, and amplifying them and embedding them in the organisation forever.
Right.
Basically, what was happening before, it was that the cultures of the existing organization that he bought, because some of them, Carrefour, he bought it in several chunks, like starting 20 years ago. The culture wasn't Mr. Majid's culture. It was, Carrefour is very much run like Carrefour France, like a large distribution business. There's still a lot of French people inside it.
Very French.
It's very French, it's very military. It's really run, you know, the larger margins are extremely thin. So, you know, everything counts. So that's really also the management. It's people in Carrefour, you don't get out of the MBAs and you join Carrefour. You start at the beginning, you know, you stashing stuff, and then you go up the ladder. So all the guys, they have the same, it's a little army, you know.
It's a little army. We went to talk to the head of Carrefour about all this leadership stuff. So we're having this conversation. And in the middle of the conversation, he stops. Have you heard the story? Mm-mm. And he goes like this. Takes out a pen. Just like this. He goes, "What's that?" And Gemma says, "It's a pen." He says, No, it's a cucumber.
Oh, the story about the cucumber.
You heard the story? The cucumber? As long as that cucumber is fresher than Spinneys, this is the competition, and cheaper than Spinneys, don't give a shit about the rest.
Right.
Like leadership, you know, all, yeah.
That being said, it was pretty good because he changed Carrefour at the time.
Yeah. No, look, he was right at one level.
He was right because they had to kind of go back also to the product.
Then what we said was, well, how do you create the cheapest? I said, you know, I said to him, well, you know, how do you create the cheapest and freshest? Let's talk about that, and then you get into the style of leadership and blah blah. But this is what they're like. It's like, you know, he's the guy running the whole thing, and what he's worrying about is my cucumber fresher and cheaper than Spinneys? Then I'm fine. The rest of it,
and they're absolutely passionate. It's really
What's this?
You call that a cucumber?
No, it's a cucumber. But this is what I like.
And they are, it's funny because I went to Nairobi 2 weeks ago, and we just opened Carrefour in Nairobi. We opened 3 shops in a year, and there's another 2 coming, so it's a big thing. And so I delivered the leadership program, and then the guys, they wanted to take us, of course, they love to, and they really have this passion of what they do that goes down to really the product. So we walked around for I don't know how long in Carrefour. They were showing us their product, and you know, I'm not that sensitive to this kind of thing usually, but they have such a passion that they really manage to share it with you, which is extraordinary. And in the case of Nairobi, they have to build all the suppliers, find all the 90% of the suppliers are local. So it's an incredible job that they've done. You know, they didn't take the Carrefour supply chain and dump it in like they did here. There they had to build everything locally. So they really, it always goes back to the grassroots of large distribution. So that's Carrefour. Properties completely different. Real businessman that actually will lease the mall, etc. And a cash flow that is not terribly challenging also because it just goes, and they have quite a lot of money.
But you have to buy sites. You know, you have to make big bets. These things cost $1 billion each, and you've got to be in early and take risks, and so it's a very different business. And then you've got to build it well, and then you just got to keep leasing it well. But once they're there, you're stuck with it, for better or worse, and you know, so it's a very different business to this everyday fresh cucumber.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And then you have the third one, ventures, which is innovative, because they were not considered as revenue generated, they've been let a little bit to do their own thing, not very much on the people's radar, and they're just, so they're the creatives, they're the, they're the less also structured and organized. In our leadership programs, the one that never turn up are the ventures people. It's just like, they always have something else much more important to do than to come to a leadership program. So it's really three completely different cultures. And the idea was that you would get one culture. And the other thing that was important is that these three people these three organizations, the people in these organizations didn't know each other.
Didn't know each other, didn't
Never
talk to
met.
each other, and yet they were all operating in the same. Carrefour was the key tenant in a lot of these centres, and blah blah blah.
So and the mindset was absolutely not of being in the same company. The mindset was like we're all competing the one with the others, although we belong to the same group. So it was a little bit like completely.
So is that what you? How would you define then your main
the
task?
thing that I think was important also is that although they structured the governance holding doesn't have any decision-making power really over the businesses. So our only ability, the only way we could do things was by influencing and make them believe that, this was, Mr. Majid said, but on the other hand, I've seen it in Etisalat. If people don't want the transformation to work, you can't as holding suddenly arrive and say, hey, I'm your new boss, and here I'm going to explain you how it works. It wasn't like that. And we couldn't work like that at all.
And we maintained a very decentralized model because the businesses are very different, and so you need very different people running them, blah blah blah. But what we wanted to do was have a cast of the top, maybe 1,000 leaders who all lived by the same values, leadership style and principles, and had a similar culture and shared data because there's lots of data and stuff in this new world. And so there's more of a collaborative, open, sort of piece going on here, but with a very decentralized model. And so, as Beatrice said, we created a common leadership program, model. We created a common sort of top talent approach. But then it was up to David and Beatrice and a few others through, they couldn't make people do it. We had to work with them to get them
to influence them.
And the message from the top was, look, if you don't get on board, we'll get rid of you. So there was an incentive to sort of be open, but it wasn't a lay down misère. You had to do it with force of personality and good arguments as well as...
And the story you told last night, or yesterday afternoon, about being at the Majlis, right, with Majid Mr. Majid. Where did that come in the time frame?
That was...
was that early on?
That was probably Ramadan 2015, I guess.
Right. So he was saying early on in front of...
Well, this is when Alan had become CEO, because we changed out the CEO, put in a new CEO, Alan, and a new head of HR, and blah, blah, blah. And then the whole thing was unfolding, and as part of that, this was like, I'd already been working there for a year and a half. It was a sort of, and we'd done all the thinking, and now we were trying to implement. That's when Beatrice and others were on board.
Yeah.
He was sending signals to the key people, this is going to happen, and I'm behind it, and this is my will, and please get on board. That was the the sort of theatre of it.
Right. Okay.
On a daily basis. So first, not everybody understood the message. That the message was that clear, and people are very good at not making things happen if they want. So when we arrived, first I think holding was very scary to everybody. This new structure that was created, there was a anti-McKinsey also sentiment.
Because we had so much influence.
Pre-prevalent. They're still on in the organization.
Which you always get in these organisations when you have people with a lot of influence and so already, and David was coming from McKinsey, I was coming from Cargill. It was really seen like, people coming from big multinationals and just like telling us how to do stuff. So they just, they didn't like it a lot. So anyway, so the idea, we had to build a leadership institute, and realistically we had one office. So, we were like really far away from building a leadership institute. So we decided that, so there was us on the Leadership Institute, there was another person from McKinsey that came to run the whole talent management
piece. And so we focus actually on three things. We focus on a culture program, on